Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Jammin Jukebox Radio Show. I'm your host, DJ Delta Dawn, and it is Saturday afternoon. We are coming to you at a little bit odd time. Normally, we're on Saturday evenings with our Indie Artist Showcase, but we are making an exception to the rule today because of our guest is actually an international guest, and we've been playing their music on our show for a while now, and I've become a huge fan. I mean, they're just an awesome group, and people have heard me say this many times on the show, but I love music coming out of the UK because to me it's some of the best music out there. And so anytime I have the privilege of speaking with someone internationally and having them on our show, it's just such a real rare treat for me personally and for all of you. And our guest today is calling in from Devon, UK, or in the vicinity, and it's just always, I'm just amazed at what technology can do to connect people now. He is as clear as a bell. It's like he's in the next room, but we will bring him on momentarily. I want to give you a little background on our guest today. We are actually going to be speaking with James Hughes, who is the frontman for the band Boardwalk Isabella. And the band is an independent English rock band. And James is the former new wave bassist and session man. But for the last 18 months, he's worked really hard, writing, recording, and producing their debut album, Headed for the Promised Land, which is to be released later this year. And it's on his own imprint, Reconnection Records. And we have been playing their debut single, Resurrection Man, on our show for some time, and it has been getting so many rave reviews. And I love it because it's retro, it's poppy, it's rocky, it's got so many different infused sounds in the mix, and it's a huge, huge sounding song, and it definitely puts you in a good mood. But I love it because, you know, I grew up in the era of 70s music and 80s music, and that was when, in my opinion, music was some of the best that you could hear here in the United States. And it's almost like these guys have tapped into that, and they just know what good music is because they've just brought that to us. And so without further ado, I am so very pleased and proud to introduce to you today James from Boardwalk Isabella. Hello, James.
Hi, Delta Dawn. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so very much for being on our show today.
A pleasure.
Well, the pleasure is all mine for sure. And I've just, as I was saying in the intro there, following you guys for a while now and playing your music on our show has been a real treat for me. I love the song Resurrection Man. And the first time I heard it, I immediately felt like I was taken back a decade or two to music and how it was at that point in time in our musical history here in the United States. And it was so cool because it just had such a retro feel. And was that something that you were striving for when you guys made that record?
You definitely got it. We weren't striving for it in a premeditated kind of way. I think it's the sum of my influences as a songwriter, definitely, which I take from that period, mostly in the early to late 70s, early 80s, and you've got bands like Free, Stevie Wonder, David Bowie, Led Zeppelin, Chic, Family Stone. That's the kind of music that I listen to a lot, and that kind of influence obviously made its way into my music once I'd written it, yeah.
Oh, and all of those artists that you just named, I love. And they are kind of the staple behind, music in the late 70s, early 80s, in which music was just in what I consider to be some of the best ever made. And I love how the concept of your music is that you can't really say that you're a rock band or a pop band. I mean, you've got so many different genres infused in what your sound is that I think that makes you unique as opposed to a lot of artists out there who have to pick a genre and stick with it kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely reflects. I mean, my mum brought me up really on country and western and Johnny Cash. And then when I struck out on my own, it was definitely the rock influences that I mentioned earlier. But then all of a sudden I was exposed to this other element in Chic and Funkadelic and Sly and the Family Stone. And I found that when I came to become a songwriter, those twin seams appeared in my music. And so we're not, like you say, we're not a straight-ahead rock band. We're not a funk band straight ahead, but there's an amalgam of the two. And I suppose that gives us that gives us something unique and different. And I'm glad for that, because there's a lot of generic sounds around, people sounding very, very similar to each other. And so I'm glad we've been given that edge, kind of, if you like, by mining those two seams of music.
Oh, and most definitely. I love that, too, because you don't find that in music much anymore, at least here in the United States. I don't know about there in the UK, but I do know in the U.S. that, mainstream pop or mainstream rock is just so rote. It's you pretty much know what you're going to get, no matter how many artists you have in the genre. And to have, musical talent like what you bring to the table musically really does offer something fresh and new to listeners that we just don't have, and that's why I think here in the States your song is being so well received, because it's off the beaten path of what people are used to hearing all the time, and so that's a rare treat for us indeed.
I think that. Thank you for saying that. That pleases me immensely that that's the case. Certainly. The people in America and Canada have really taken to us, on the independent scene, much more so than the UK, funnily enough, where I suppose they're kind of they're a bit blasé about things in this country, I must say. But that's not to say they don't spot talent. It's just that they've seen a lot of things come and go. But definitely we've received a massive kind of reaction in the States and Canada, like I say, and that's been great for us. I think you touched on it there, and I think people are really they've had enough of this kind of generic mainstream. You can almost tell where the chords are going to go next. It's that kind of feeling when you're listening to music sometimes these days. And I think when you get to that stage and listening to music, the game's up, really. And so that's why when there's something fresh and new, and you don't know where it's going, and you haven't quite heard this kind of sound before, or you've heard this kind of sound or elements before, but in the way it's presented is a little bit different, and people respond to it, definitely.
Oh, most definitely. And I've said many times that indie music coming out of the UK, to me, is some of the most popular that we play on our show here, and is also some of the most popular in the States. I see it all the time, on social media, just American fans of indie UK bands and artists is unbelievable, and one of the reasons why I think that it is so well received here in the U.S. is because so many artists there, like yourself, all of you really have this unique talent, and to us, it kind of sounds like music that we either grew up on or we're familiar with from a different time and era in music, and it's kind of like you guys aren't afraid to bring it back and show that, hey, it never had to disappear. And so it really does add to all of and give many, many choices and options, I should say, to what we have to choose from here musically. And so it's brilliant what you guys are doing. I applaud you very much so. One of the things that I have to ask you, because I'm sure you've probably been asked this question many times over, but where did the name Boardwalk Isabella come from?
I have been definitely asked that question before, Dawn. It's a bit of a strange one. There is a history of bands with girls' names like Thin Lizzy and Slag Alice and all that kind of thing, and Alice in Chains and what have you. But the name actually comes from, I was doing a session at the BBC in London many years ago, and as we pulled up outside the BBC, my road crew jumped out, and one of the guys said, "Oh man, look, there's a Boardwalk Isabella," or what I thought I heard him say, Boardwalk Isabella. And he was pointing to this very sexy late 50s sports car, European sports car. And I thought, wow, that is the best name I've ever heard of in my life for a sports car. And I laboured under that misapprehension for years, thinking that this little sports car was a Boardwalk Isabella. And then when we came to try and find a name for the band in 2011 when we kicked off, I found a sports car magazine, and I was leafing through it, and I found out that it wasn't called a Boardwalk Isabella. I'd misheard it completely. But then I realised that the name Boardwalk Isabella was free. So I thought I'd carry on that tradition and use the name because I loved it so much.
Well, it's a very, very catchy name, and I love it because, surprisingly enough and ironic enough, it really fits the style of music that you are producing and making for your band. I mean, it really is a great fit, and because, it's not really I don't know how to describe it. It's got that very ethereal, nostalgic feel as well as your music does. and so it fits perfectly. So that is a really neat story, by the way. You know, I always love asking my indie bands and artists that where did they get their band name from, because every story is different, and I have yet to just go, really? I mean, it's always such a neat story behind every name. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Excellent.
Well, you guys are, I mean, you're obviously getting tremendous positive feedback here in the States, and you said it in Canada as well, and it's no surprise to me. And let's talk a little bit about Resurrection Man, because this is a song that's pretty much put you on the map here. I mean, this is a song we've been playing. And talk about the inspiration behind the song and actually where the title Resurrection Man comes from.
Right. I was living in France a few years back, and I felt a real need to express myself musically, and I've been a sideman in a lot of other bands before I came to sit down and write my own songs. So when I sat down and wrote my own songs, I suddenly dispensed with everything about being cool or being of the moment and whatever, and I just let the flow happen how it may. And the first song I wrote when I bought myself an acoustic guitar and settled down to this little home studio in France was Resurrection Man. And it's from the moment I hit the first chords, I knew that I had something there, that this was something I was going to mine, this kind of sound that was coming naturally out of me at this stage. And so it was a kind of, as you can hear, it's a kind of mixture of rock and funk and soul and all the rest of it that was coming out naturally in the music. And when it came to write the lyrics, I just thought, well, you know, this is me emerging from a long period of being someone else's sideman. That was the start of it, and wanting to come back into music in a different way. And so I kicked off with the imagery of a resurrection man, and then all sorts of things wove itself into the lyrics from there. So that's the genesis of how Resurrection Man started.
Oh, that is so cool. And I love the song. I mean, the first time I heard it, I was just like, well, for one thing, I felt like I was being taken on a serious psychedelic musical journey. It was so cool. I mean, because, I don't know, here is what came to mind when I was listening to the song is I started hearing, like, the first, few beats and few seconds of the song. I felt like, kind of back in the 60s when you have the whole color prism thing behind people dancing on screen, and it just looks very psychedelic, and it was like, gosh, this is so cool. And I was hoping that if you guys came out with a video that you would somehow incorporate that into it, because that would be uber terrific. But yeah, I mean, I really got that, and I love the fact that, I couldn't help but feel like that somewhere in there, Jimi Hendrix was kind of trying to come through as well. It was just a really, really cool song, and as it continues on, it just takes you on this journey throughout, and it's one of those songs that you really get into, and then it gets in your head and stays. It does.
It does.
And,
it does.
Yeah,
it's funny
song,
you should say that. Sorry, Don, I'm talking across you. Yeah, I was just saying. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The thing that really struck me is when I wrote it and people started listening to it. They started using this parlance from the '60s. So the word groovy started coming back. As soon as they heard it, that's the first thing they said was, "That sounds groovy." And so we've resurrected that phrase very much so. And probably you've seen on our blurb on Twitter, the grooviest rock and roll band in the world. And we stand by that, by the way.
Well, and honestly, I had not actually thought about the word groovy, but yes, perfect fit, perfect way to describe it. And because it is groovy, and it does have that feel, that whole 60s, early 70s disco feel. And you can't really say, well, that song reminds you of disco song or reminds you of rock. I mean, it's like you guys really tried to take the creative genius notch up a level or two, by just going all out and putting in as many different genres and styles as possible. So undoubtedly it's a great song, and as I said, it's so understandable why people have caught on to it and they like it, because in music, and I'm sure you can attest to this, as I was growing up, as I've listened to music throughout my entire life, the first few beats and 30 seconds of a song is either going to catch you or not, and and sometimes it may take getting to the lyrics to see how a song's going to play out. But usually if that first 15 to 30 seconds doesn't grab you, at least this has been my testament, I just kind of shut it off and go on to something else. But this is one of those songs that it not only grabs you, but it pulls you in, and then you just want to listen, and it just keeps, building and getting better and better until the very end. And then when it's over, you're going, it's over? No. And that's when you hit play again, So it's one of those great songs that you that just doesn't come around often.
Thank you for saying that, Dawn. I really appreciate that.
Oh, you're so welcome. Well, now, in terms of 2014, we were in a brand new year, if you can believe it. And what kind of plans have you guys got brewing?
Well, probably total world domination is the number one. But apart from that, no, we're being serious. We've got our album coming out. We've probably got another single coming out in about 6 weeks' time. And we've got our album Headed for the Promised Land also to come out, and we're really looking forward to that because there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we're dying for people to hear. And at the moment we're rehearsing for our debut tour. We're getting our songs together and a stage show and everything. And you will see some of those 60s lights that you spoke of earlier. We're gearing up for our first tour because we think that it's going to be really fantastic to take this out on the road, this whole big sound. So, yeah, that's our plans for 2014 right now.
That sounds pretty awesome and very big, no doubt. You're going to be very busy, I'm sure. I can't wait for the next single and the album further. Please get it to me because I'm just chomping at the bit to try and play this music. And I'm telling you, if Resurrection Man is any indicator of what's to come, oh, man, the listeners are in for such a treat. I have every belief. Now, is there any chance that at some point you guys might try to venture to the States to do some touring?
There's every chance. We've had a lot of people in reaction to the radio play. You probably know yourself that we got taken on by J.L. Hensley at the 365 network, and he's put us out to 179 countries around the world at the moment, and I'm very grateful to him. And that's allowed our music to go far and wide on an indie scale. Obviously, that's a fantastic start, but it's not the whole story. So yeah, we want to travel far and wide, and the one that's got the most reaction now at the moment is America. So we'd like to be there first. If we could go to the States first, then we'd be very happy with that. And if there's anyone out there who wants to make that happen, then please get in contact with us.
By all means, we need to get an Indiegogo or something started for you guys, a Kickstarter, so that we can get the money raised. We'd love to have you. I can tell you, if you came anywhere close to North Carolina where I live, I would be at your show because I can only imagine that it's going to be full of energy, very electrifying, and just so upbeat across the board. And I imagine it's going to meet many rave reviews, undoubtedly. Yeah,
we certainly hope so. We're definitely going to give a massive show, and like you say, full of energy and electricity. We're really looking forward to that. And Dawn, without doubt, you're going to be there as our guest, so no problem about that.
Oh, you're so kind, James. I greatly appreciate that. From the moment before I really even knew anything about you guys, and just only knew the song Resurrection Man, I knew immediately, just your appeal. It was such a positive vibe. I said, these guys have got a major career ahead of them here in the U.S., and I can't wait to see what's going to happen for you as the year unfolds with all the great plans that you have. And it's just going to be very exciting. So I'm so honored that you guys pitched the song to me and said, hey, would you mind playing this, giving it a listen? And then you've been so supportive of us in us promoting you. It's been very nice and very heartfelt. So I greatly appreciate that so much.
You're more than welcome, because people like you are absolutely vital. Your shows are absolutely legendary over here. They really are. Loads of people mention it about how you play, the quality of the music you play, how you help independent artists. It's really, really important that there are people like you in the world, and we couldn't do it in this stage unless you're sort of supported by Universal Music or something like that. It's very, very, very difficult for independent artists to break through, and that's why it's an absolute godsend that people like yourself have set up your shows all around the world and give our kind of music and independent music in general a platform to be heard. So I'm grateful to you as well.
Oh, well, thank you. And music has always been my passion, and being able to do this and to help so many indie artists just be heard. I've never like played an instrument, but I know if I was an artist, I would, this would be such a great thing. And I kind of started the show as a hobby, never realizing that it would grow to what it has. And so it's been a win-win for me and the indie artists out there that we've helped promote. So yeah, I mean, James, I'm happy to do anything for you guys that I can. And we will always be happy to promote you and get your music out and have it be heard. So you're near and dear to my heart. So it's all good.
Likewise.
Well, I'm so thrilled for what's to come for you. I cannot wait. Personally and professionally, I'm very excited for you guys. And I just have no doubt that the album is going to be a huge success. So please let us know what we can do for you. But wishing you all the best this year and beyond for much continued success, not just with Resurrection Man, but with the new album, the tour, and anything else that may come up as a result of all this. So we certainly look forward to it all.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Can't wait.
Oh, well, thank you, and we appreciate you so much for being on our show today and just giving us some of your time, calling in from the UK. That's too cool, and certainly we'll be talking with you again, and we'd love to have you back on when the new album comes out.
Be a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care, James.
Bye.
Bye-bye. What a nice gentleman. This is why I love doing what I do, and the indie artists out there are just, they're like my little family, and it just continues to grow. and I love the music because unlike mainstream music, we all know what we're going to get with that. But the indie artist music world is so vast, and it's so chock full of immense talent that it's unsurpassed anywhere. I would much rather listen to indie music any day, all day, than I would to turn on my radio in my car or in my home to catch the latest local radio station, just because the music is and the talent is, these artists put everything they have into what they do. And as James said, they're self-supported, self-funded. They don't have a major record label backing them. So that's why it's so critical. If you love their music, not only to help them become, more well-known, but go buy it. Support them, because if you're supporting them, they can continue to make great music and step along that path that's going to lead them to where they need to be so that they are well-known everywhere. And so every little bit helps, and everyone doing their part helps. So before we close today, I want to play their latest single, which I absolutely love. And if you've not heard it, but if you love retro 70s, pop, rock, funkadelic, soul, I could go on and on. I think every genre is represented in the song except for country, but maybe there's country somewhere in there. I don't know. But needless to say, it's a great song. The song is Resurrection Man, and the band is Boardwalk Isabella, and we're going to play that for you now. Oh, what a great song, Boardwalk Isabella and Resurrection Man. And I want to give you a little information where you can keep up with them because they have an awesome, awesome website. You can go to boardwalkisabella.com, and it's chock full of all the information that you need to follow them and to also keep up with when their new album is going to be coming out. And you can purchase the new single. It's available on iTunes and various other places. But also you can follow them on Twitter, and their Twitter handle is Boardwalk Isabel, Isabel. And you can also go to their Facebook page and look them up, Boardwalk Isabella. And one of the 3 places you'll be able to stay up on everything they have going on. And I'm telling you, they are an awesome band, and I cannot wait for the new album to come out. It is going to be all the rage. And the new album, again, if you're taking notes, is headed for the promised land. It's to be released very soon, and I can assure you once it's in my hands, we will begin promoting it and playing it here on our show. So I want to give James Hughes a huge shout-out and many, many thanks for being our special guest today. And also thank you to all of you for tuning in. And if you're brand new to our show, welcome aboard. You picked a great day to tune in, and so glad that you were able to join us. So thanks so much. And we will be back here again very soon. Let me see when we will be back. We're going to be taking a couple of nights off, but we'll be back on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So we hope that you'll be able to join us at that time. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and be safe no matter where you are. We've had a lot of crazy weather in the U.S. this week, so please be safe, and hopefully it's warming up where you are. So just hold on. Spring is around the corner. Thank goodness. But have a great weekend, what's left of it, and we'll see you again on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Take care, all. God bless. Have a good evening. Good night.
Thanks for listening to tonight's show. You can connect with Jammin' Jukebox Radio Show on Twitter at Jammin' Jukebox or on Facebook at Jammin' Jukebox Radio Show. Check out our website at thejamminjukebox.com. Also, follow us on Blog Talk, where you will be always up to date on every episode as we add it. Each episode is available for immediate download upon the conclusion of each broadcast, and as always, on iTunes. Thank you for joining us.